I just want to say welcome to each and every one who is um, here with us and those that will be watching on live stream. We want to say happy Sabbath to you. Just a short introduction. My name is Salvador Gomez. For those of you joining us for the first time, and we will continue to study the original um, message as it was given to our early pioneers in Adventist history. That first message of Revelation 14, um, 6 and 7. And we have already looked at the first link of the prophetic chain as it was given to Miller by God's angel, the 7 times of Leviticus 26. And we're going to look at some more of that prophetic chain in this presentation. Some more weight of evidence. And so, if any of you, like myself, have been to court, whether because of an infraction, some law that was broken, and you had to go to court, if you want to prove that you're innocent, what do you need? Evidence, right? You need evidence. You're innocent according to the judicial system. You're innocent until proven guilty. And in our investigations of the first angel, we have a whole lot of weight of evidence proving as to what that message is. We have gone through a series of, we are now on number 7, the 7th presentation on the same subject, and we still have more to look at. And so it's a lot of evidence proving that the first angel, the original message as it was given to William Miller and his associates, we have quite a bit. Okay, but let us go forward, and we're gonna take a look at this slide here, because this slide gives us some more detail on that first angel. Okay, and so here we have 7 times, and what does 7 times mean in the passage that we read? Do you remember? What is a time? One time. In prophecy. One time. Close. You said the whole 7. That's the whole 7 times. But one time is 1 year. 2 times is 2 years. 3 times is 4 years. Or 3 times is 3 years. 4 times 4 years. 5 times 5 years. 6 times 6 years. 7 times 7 years. And these are figurative years. Okay, we're going to explain what figurative means. But it simply said it is not literal time, prophetic time. Okay, prophetic time. Once we figure out what the solution is to find the actual years, then those years become literal years, right? Because we know that one time makes 1 year, right? Okay. And so we also know that, biblically speaking, in the Bible, it lets us know that 1 year is to represent uh, each day within that year represents a year. See? Does that make sense? And so we're using the biblical year, not the modern year, not the Gregorian calendar, but the ancient um, biblical calendar, which would be 360 days in a year instead of 365 in the Gregorian. Okay? And so when you do the math, as we're going to see here, we come up with a solution. Okay? A time a year. And then a year is 360 days. So each one of those days becomes 360 years. 360 years. Okay? So 1 year is 360 days. And the 360 days, now we're going to multiply those by 7 because there's 7 years, right? So 360 times 7 is 520. You see, the Bible actually gives us math. Okay? The Bible lets us know how to count, right? Remember in Genesis, first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, Sabbath. The seventh day is the Sabbath. Okay? The Bible actually tells us all the days have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean 6. And then he says the seventh day is the Sabbath day. It's a day of rest. Okay? And from what it looks like, the Sabbath is about to come to an end. But nonetheless, 2520 is 7 times. 2,520 days, which represent years. And we learned that this prophecy that was given to Moses began with the carrying the when the king of Judah, Hezekiah, was carried away where? To Babylon. You remember that? Okay. That's when the prophecy begins. When they were carried away. Now, in the book of, this would be Isaiah, okay, this prophet. In the book of Isaiah, we also have another prophecy which connects to the 7 times of Leviticus. Now, I want you to notice Isaiah was the one that the angel touched his lips to make them pure. Okay? He touched his lips. That's what he's doing right there. Okay? Because God asked, who shall I send to speak to my people? And he said, here I am, Lord, send me. But God needed to purify his tongue because he dwelt with people that had a bad speech. And so God, with this angel, and that angel took the coal from the altar, okay? From the altar. Okay, remember we were looking at the sanctuary, we saw the altar, right? There was the brazen altar, that one's outside, but this is taken from the inside, in the holy place. Okay? This is from the where the incense is. And so he takes the coal from the altar and he touches his lips and he makes his speech pure. which means that Isaiah can't lie. Okay? He touched his lips with this coal and now he can't lie. He's going to tell us the truth, right? We could have that assurance. Okay? Now notice, 65 years of Ephraim. This is found in Isaiah chapter 7, all the way to verses 5 through 9. Okay? And it says, because Syria, Ephraim, and just so you know, there was Judah, and this was the southern tribe of the people of God, because they were broken up into two, the southern and the northern. Ephraim was the northern. This was what was called Israel. And the southern was Judah. Okay? And the whole state or country is Jerusalem. But it was broken up in two tribes. Southern, northern. Okay? Alright. Now notice. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee. They had taken evil counsel, they had planned to attack their brother Judah. They came together. So they made a league. You know what a league is? They joined together. They said, okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to help Syria. This is the northern kingdom, Ephraim. Join Syria to attack their own brothers, Judah. Okay? And God found this out and he told, go tell Ephraim this. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, Judah, saying, let us go up against Judah and vex it. Okay? Let's go make war with them. And let us make a breach therein for us and set a king in the midst of it. So they were going to take the king, remove him, and put their own king. Okay? And because they made this plan, they devised this plan, this is what God said. Let's set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabeel. Thus, verse 7, thus saith the Lord God, it shall not stand. He said, no, this is not going to happen. God said, I'm not going to allow it. Notice why. He says, this shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. Okay? So, because of the league that Ephraim made with Syria, God said that it shall be broken to where it will no longer be a people. They will no longer be a nation, a country, a state. Okay? He said, you guys are not going to exist anymore because of this. Okay, but notice there's some time connected. Okay, it says within 60, that's 30 and 5 years. 60 is 30. A score is 20. So 20, 40. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. 60. 65. I said 35. 65 years. One score es 20. Y aquí hay cuántos? Hay 3, ¿verdad? So 65 years. So within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. Okay? So we have a time prophecy. Okay, so let's find out where it begins and where it ends. But it says, notice, um, within, entre, within the 65 years. Okay? Within. It says right here, right? Entre 65 años. Okay? Shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people? The assurance of this prophecy is given in verse 9. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If ye will not believe, then ye shall not be established. Let me get out of this real quick and move this up. Notice that. See that? Mm-hmm. If you will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Okay? So if you don't believe this, you're not going to be established. You're going to be on sandy ground. You're not going to have that firm foundation. You're going to have on the sand. Remember Jesus talked about the rock? If you build your house on the rock, what happens? It's going to be fine, right? But if you build it in the sand, when the wind comes and the waves come, it's going to blow it right away. It's going to knock it down. Because the sand, it moves. It moves. But not the rock. The rock is firm. It's solid. Right? Okay, notice. So, this is what happened. Okay? Those 65 years prove that they were also taken into captivity. Ephraim. This is Ephraim, not Judah. This is how they were taken captive. Mm-hmm. This is Miller's view of those verses. Notice what he said. Isaiah prophesied that within, remember that word, within 65 years, Ephraim should be broken and be not a people. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 8. That there won't be a nation anymore. That they were not going to be that tribe, the whole tribe. No. Let me finish. It's going to explain. It's going to explain how. Okay? But that tribe is no longer going to exist. The Ephraim, Israel, the 10 tribes, because it was 10 and 2. Okay? The northern kingdom, that kingdom right there, of Israel and Ephraim, they were no longer going to exist because of what they did. They're going to disappear. Now, how did it happen? Notice what he says. Okay? Isaiah prophesied that within 65 years, Ephraim should be broken and be not a people. Isaiah 7:8. This was in the days of Pekah and Rezin. Notice the time. 742 years before Christ. 42 before Christ. 65 years after. Okay? So, 742 and then 65 years after that. BC 677, Esarhaddon, king of Assyria and Babylon, came with a large army into the land of Israel and Judah. Okay? Within Israel and Judah, carried away the last remnant of Israel first. The last remnant of Israel, carried them first. Okay? This was when? At 677. Okay. When did Miller say that the seventh time would begin for Judah? In 677. Okay. When Hezekiah was taken. But before that happened, this prophecy needed to be fulfilled first. The 65 years. Okay. First then. First the northern kingdom had to come to its end. It had to be broken. And so they were carried, the last of them were carried away in first. Notice what it says. The remnant of Israel, and they have not been a nation since. What did it say? They have not been a nation since. Why? Because they were carried away. To the point, we have to believe what Isaiah said. He's not lying to us. He said that they would be broken and there would not be a people no more. That happened at the beginning of 677 before Christ. The last people of the northern kingdom was taken away to Babylon. Notice what he continues to say. And they have not been a nation since. Then he also made war against Jerusalem. After he took the rest, because that's what remnant is. After he took the rest of Ephraim and Israel, he went back. And then he carried away. Then he carried away Hezekiah. See? Notice. Then he also made war against Jerusalem, took Manasseh, and carried him to Babylon, which begins the 7 times Judah was to be in bondage to the kings of the earth, and also the 7 years Israel should be a captive, robbed, and spoiled people, both beginning and ending at one time, 20 years, beginning at BC 677, ending AD 1843 to 1843 at 677, and the sum equals 20 years. We got that? Beginning at 677, okay, ending at 1843. Then, to get the calculation, okay, try to do this in your mind if you can. To 1843, add 677. All right, you need some help with it? Don't worry, we got it right here. $742. Remember? What happened in 742? That's the beginning of the prophecy. When Isaiah said, within 65 years, Israel's going to be broken. Within. Okay? Notice. If you count 65 years from 642, you get 677. So this is the witness that says that 677, that's the date when the southern kingdom begins. That's why we need the 65 years. See? God gave it to us so we can be established. If we believe Isaiah, then we don't have to, oh man, it's not, I don't know, it doesn't seem, makes us doubt maybe. But if we have Isaiah's prophecy that Israel would be broken within 65 years, then now we have some more solid proof of the 7 times. Because now Isaiah is saying the same thing. They agree. Moses, Isaiah, Ezekiel, that's three witnesses that are talking about the same thing. Okay? Now, 677, when you when we do the math, 2520 minus 677 is 1843. See that? And if you add 677 to, or 1843 and 677, if you add them, you get 2520. So either way you do the math, it all comes out to that. Now, there's one point. Right here it says 1843. Okay? But when they ended up looking at the prophecy, they noticed one minute detail about this prophecy. Okay, we're going to talk about it at a later point. I just want you to notice that this was the first in conclusion. The first time that Miller was able to look at these numbers, this is what he saw. 1843, 1843, 1843. Okay? Including in this prophecy of Isaiah, talking about the 65 years, he noticed that it was another clue to the 7 times of Leviticus 26. Okay? Now notice, here we add a 1, and we're going to explain why. Okay? But first we want to talk about how that happened. Okay? How did they end up seeing that there's a missing 1? Okay? It was missing 1. Miller didn't see it. It was later that they saw it. Okay? When it happened and how it happened, we're going to talk about it. And so it should really be 1844. Okay? This they figured it out at a later time. And that's 20 years. Okay? Now, the prophecy about the northern kingdom, when you look at 642 and then you add 2520 to that, you end up getting 1798. Okay? That's the northern tribe. Because remember, there was the northern and the southern. And so there was actually 22520, but only one would make it to 1844, and that would be the gathering time at the end of the prophetic period, the 2520. But for the northern tribe, there's not going to be a gathering because the prophecy said in Isaiah that they would not be people. This is why it's not on the chart. Remember we saw the chart, the 1843 chart? Okay. So here there was a thought that from BC to AD you get a 1 year, but it's actually called the full amount of time. The full amount of time. So in other words, for example, Danny's birthday. When is it her birthday? When is her birthday? 1997. 1997, August, right? What date? 27? Okay. So is her birthday on the 26th or is it on the 28th? What day? 27, right? Okay, so it has to be exactly on that date. Okay? So what they found out is that it has to be on the exact day that Hezekiah was taken captivity to Babylon. Starting from that day and month and okay, that date, then you have the full amount of time. It can't be before. It has to be the exact date. And that day was October 22nd.
October 22nd.
On the day that Hezekiah was taken to Babylon in the autumn. Okay. Now we're talking about our calendar, right? But if we're using their their calendar, what day is it? It's on that paper. Uh huh.
Two Sabbaths, the Jewish festivals.
Let me see it. Let me see. Okay. So for us, it's October, but under the Jewish calendar, it was the month of Tishri. 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 Uh huh.
What is Tishri? What month?
It's the 7th month.
The
The 7th month. October is the what? 10th. 10th month, right? But if we're using the Jewish calendar, it would have been the 7th month. Okay. For us, under the Gregorian calendar, the first day of the month is what? The first month of the year is January, right? But for the Jewish calendar, the first month is actually between March and April. Okay, March and April. And so once they figured out that Christ didn't come in 1843, in the summer of 1843, around there, we'll look at those details later. When they saw he didn't come, they said, well, do we have the exact date from when Hezekiah was taken captivity to Babylon? Yes. And so they saw that it was October, which would be Tishri, right? In the 7th month. Okay? And so it would have to fall in the 7th month again. This was given to them under the true midnight cry message of Samuel Snow. And we're going to look at that, okay? But just so we have an idea, okay? And I'll have this available at the end of this presentation for those that are interested in seeing that. Okay. And so that would be the full year concept, that it would have to be at the beginning of in October, when Hezekiah was taken on the 22nd of 677, all the way to 1844, October 22nd, in order for the 20 years to be fulfilled. Okay? It takes every day, every minute, every second of those years to fulfill the time prophecy. Is that clear? Just like her birthday has to be every day, every second, every minute of the year for her birthday to come, right? It can't be before. No. It has to be exactly on the date, right? Okay. Now, this is how we understand as well that there is from creation until 1844, it has been 6,000 years. It's not what science says. Science says that we've been here for millions and billions of years, right?
Yeah.
No. According to when Miller did his studies on the prophecies, he counted all of the years that were given. He was short on the time span of the judges by a little bit, but later was corrected under the Midnight Cry. Samuel Snow was able to give the full amount. And when you count all of the years from Adam, which is 4000 BC, all the way to 1844 is 6,000 years.
Wow.
So that means that it's not that,
Not millions.
not millions and billions. It's insanity, you know. Okay, so that was how they understood as well that in 1844 there was another proof. The 6,000 years prove 1844 as well, and this is why Miller was able to come to the conclusion that he did, that Christ would come sometime in 1843, 1844. Now Edson had a view as well, and this is the pioneer as well that was in the early years of the Advent movement, the Great Advent movement, and he was able to understand the 2520 as well. And for a little time, there was a little bit of a dispute between Miller and Edson, but they were able to hash it out. They were saying the same thing at the end. Now notice, instead of reckoning from the taking of Manasseh, king of Judah, to Babylon, 677, we reckon from the shutting up of the binding in prison Hoshea, king of Israel. So this is the northern kingdom, remember? Which was 723. This was 19 years. Okay, so I made a mistake here. Let me go back a moment. I think I said 742, but he says 723. Okay?
722.
Which was 723. This was 19 years after. So remember it said within? Remember? He said within 65 years. That's 723.
That is in that time.
Yes, that's it, inside the 65 years. Okay? Okay? And so within that time, remember Miller said the last of the people of Ephraim were taken in 677, and then Hezekiah. So the last of the people were 677. The beginning of the people of Israel was 723. Okay? Ahí empezó. For the people of Israel. And then a few years later, 677, the last of Israel, and then the first of Judah. Okay? Does that make sense now? Okay. I was going to go back, but there's no need to, because it says right here, 742. Remember? Okay, so this was 19 years after Isaiah's prophecy, recorded in chapter 7. Let me make it bigger. Recorded in chapter 7 of Isaiah, verse 8, which was 742 BC. Hence, Ephraim was broken from being a people literally within 65 years. That within was 19 years. 723 BC. Okay? And so it says, from whatever point in the year 723 BC, we reckon the same corresponding point in the year 1798. Okay? Must be reached to fill up the 2524 years, the same as in the case of the 2300 days, dating from the fall of 457 BC. And so that's another prophecy that connects with the 2520. Okay? Another prophecy that is a witness, is evidence for the 2520. Okay? And we're going to look at all of them. But we're beginning with the first link, remember? The first link was the 7 times. Okay? But in regards to the 7 times for Ephraim or Israel, they said that they would literally not be a people. Which means that they're gonna disappear. Uh-huh. Notice it says correspond the same corresponding point in the year 1798 must be reached to fill up 24 years. See? How many years? 4 years. That means that it has to be in October, right? It has to be in October from the starting point all the way to the ending point. Okay? That's the only way that you can get the actual amount of time. Okay? Now, it says 4 years, the same as in the case of the 2300 days. So the same principle of the 4 years must be applied to all of the time prophecies. Dating from the fall of 457 BC, ending in the fall of 1844 AD, the year 723 BC is the true beginning. See, now this is, it's sounding like he's saying, no, not what Miller said, what I'm saying. But they're both right. One is not wrong, or the other.
Because the math is the same.
The math is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The only difference is that the Northern Kingdom began in 723. Okay? Not 677. Okay? And the Southern Kingdom begins at 723. I mean in 677. Mm-hmm. Northern Kingdom, 723. Southern Kingdom, 677. Before Christ. Okay? Mm-hmm. And notice, it says, the year 723 BC is the true beginning, and 1798 is the true terminus or ending of the 2520 years captivity of the people of God. Okay? This was, notice when it was written, 1856. This was after 1844. But both of them are correct. And here's the time prophecy given as Edson, Hiram Edson understood it. Beginning at 742, and then within the 65 years should pop up here. The 19 years, that's 723, right there. And then you count 23 years from that point, and then you get 1798. You have to add the full year. It says 1797, but when you add the full year, it's 1798. Mm-hmm. Tenemos que añadir uno porque tiene que ser cada minuto, cada segundo del año completo. El tiempo completo añadas uno porque tiene que comenzar desde el principio, desde que realmente pasó. Cuando se cumpla el tiempo completo en el mismo mes, el mismo día, entonces ya es, ¿sí me entiendes? Ajá, se cumple ese año, la fecha. Okay, 1798 would be the termination of the northern tribe. Okay, and notice it happens before 1844. The termination of this date is before 1844, which means that this goes to show that this kingdom or tribe would not be gathered. It doesn't have a gathering of people because it was broken. It was broken according to the prophecy of Isaiah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, when you break that in half, what do you have? You have 538. And so from 723 to 538, you have 1260. And from 538 to 1798, you have 1260. Okay.
La mitad de ese tiempo
Ujú,
corresponde
ujú. 538 es la mitad de ese tiempo.
antes de Cristo.
No, no, 8 years after death.
Oh,
Okay. 1260. And then the deadly wound takes place in 1798. Es otra profecía que vamos a ver. 1260, 1260, 2520. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right? You're counting it, Vanessa? Good job. All right. Mm-hmm. Now here we have all this evidence. Aquí tenemos toda esta evidencia. ¿Verdad? Y está escrito en la palabra de Dios. Los profetas lo están diciendo. Ezequiel que fue, he was touched with the coal from the altar. He's not gonna lie. He's not gonna try to, right? He's telling us the truth, right? This is the truth. It's in the Bible. We have a lot of evidence showing that this is true, and we have the last end of that 1260 is the papal supremacy, and then the first part of that 1260 is pagan supremacy, or in other words, the daily. Okay? We're going to get into that as well. This is paganism. Paganism and papalism. See, there's the daily. The transgression of desolation. So these are words that we find in the book of Daniel. We're going to look at them. So when we read the daily, that's talking about the pagan supremacy, the 1260 of pagan supremacy, and then the transgression of desolation is papal supremacy, right? And that covers 20 years in prophecy. And so when we look at the map of Jerusalem and how they were taken into captivity, here you have in the red, see the red right there? You see the red line? That is the northern kingdom when it was taken away in 723. See? It was taken away right there. See that? Okay, and then the blue is when Hezekiah in 677 was taken by the Assyrians into Babylon. All right? So the red is the northern kingdom, and then the southern kingdom in 677 it's taken into Babylon. All right, and so we're gonna stop right here. Okay, we're gonna stop right here. I think we've been able to study a good amount. This right here is already getting into the book of Daniel, and that's not where I want to go with it. We're not done looking at further evidence on the 7 times, okay? Because there's many out there that are teaching things that are not true, and so we need to make sure, right? Even though we have a lot already, we need to make sure that we truly have all the evidence that is out there, all the evidence. We're not gonna leave anything out. We're gonna make sure that all of us have all the evidence that's available to us, so that way, whenever someone tries to tell us something different, there's no way There's really no way. Yeah, there's no way to gainsay or try to say that it's false or whatever. Until now, we have seen a lot of evidence, right? It's a lot. We have all the math, we have all the dates, and all of the dates are given by Usher's chronology. If anybody wants to look up the dates, they're there. They're there, available online. You can purchase a book, whatever, but it's readily available to anybody who wishes to see. Okay, because there's many that don't want to see. They don't want to understand this.
They don't want.
They don't want to.
They don't ready to learn. Because,
That could be too. But a lot of people that I run into when I'm sharing this, they're not. They don't. They're yeah. They just said they don't believe. They don't believe it. Maybe they heard somebody else already. They already put something in their brain, and whenever you try to tell them, you're like, "Oh no, that's not true." My pastor said. This other brother said, or whatever, you know. You know when somebody wants to learn when they open their mind to it. When they say, "Okay, let me hear, let me see what."
Yes, to have another opinion because maybe we can do something that know before, we know before.
Yeah, when we have other, remember, Miller, who was a person that rejected the Bible, he said, "No, that's not true." He believed God created everything. He stepped away. Okay. How did he come to that belief? Influence. His friends, the people who he hung out with. But then, when he went to the Battle of Plattsburgh, and he saw the bomb fall in his tank, one of his friends killed, another friend was wounded, and nothing happened to him. He said, there has to be an explanation. And that opened his mind. And then he studied the Bible, verse by verse, making sure that not one thing was not understood before he went to the next verse. And he began at Genesis. And he also understood that when you read a verse, unless the laws of nature are broken, unless the laws of nature are violated, unless you see a beast coming up out of the water, that's a violation of nature. We don't see that, right? That's not something natural, right? So unless you see something like that, then it's literal. That's one of the rules that he understood. The quote said that we read about Miller is that he was a stickler for the literal. Stickler. That means that he always, every time he read a verse, it's literal. That's the first way he read it, is literal. But if it didn't make sense and the laws of nature were broken, then okay, this is figurative. Let me look at the different figures and let me study them in the Word. Let me see what the Bible says to give me the explanation. He didn't go looking for somebody to tell him. No, he studied it. He looked for himself with the concordance. He did all the work for us. And today we have a lot of tools, right? We have the phone, we have the computer, we have internet. I mean, it's all right here. So when God judges us, when he says, Salvador, uh, did you really study that out? Like, how much did you try to understand it? With everything that you have, did you really take the time? If I didn't take the time, God knows it, right?
Yeah.
I can't lie to God.
No.
Nobody can mock God. So we have to be honest with ourselves. If we really want to know, then we can know. Everything is going to be looked at in the judgment. If we really want to know or we don't want to know, God's going to know it. You know? And so I pray that everybody really does want to know. That's why. I'm not just talking about here, I'm talking about everywhere. Everywhere. Because I see so much rejection, different opinions, pride, arrogance. See? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of details, right? Exactly. Yeah. Right, and that in itself is a lie, from Satan. Secret rapture. And the Bible's so clear about how Jesus returned. It says every eye will see him. There's going to be trumpets. The sound of trumpets. Loud. Mm-hmm. 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 Exactly. Mm-hmm. Y es mucho. Es mucha evidencia para comprobar que esto sí es cierto. ¿Ah? Y está disponible para todos.
Porque son muchos como que aunque son escriben en esa profundidad, todavía están confundidos aún todavía con los tiempos de los judíos, los calendarios. Uh-huh. Y ahí es donde hace una mezcla de los tiempos judíos con los tiempos de nosotros de porque muchos leen, ¿verdad? A profundidad, ellos todavía siguen haciendo cosas que eran de los judíos. Uh-huh. Las fiestas judías. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Y nada más con eso te das cuenta, pues, de que están confundidos. Uh-huh. ¿Verdad?
Claro. Y es por falta de lo que yo he visto, es por falta de conocimiento acerca de las reglas. Uh-huh. Sin el conocimiento de las reglas siempre vamos a llegar a ideas erróneas, para ponértelo claro. Es una idea errónea, porque no estás usando una regla para que llegues a esa. Si fuera verdad, no tuvieras miedo de usar lo que la Biblia mismo te está diciendo para que no llegues a agarrar. ¿Sí? Pero bueno, ya vamos a concluir. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you will continue to join us in our studies on the first angel. We're just now getting into the very exciting parts of the prophecies that point to what Miller thought was the coming of Christ, but even most importantly, as well, Well, yeah, it is. It is very important. It's uh, the judgment that is also mentioned by the first angel. May God bless each and every one of us. See you soon.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven, and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters.